Welcome back to the Shigeaki Podcast, where we decode the little things that quietly shape how you age and help you make them work in your favor. I'm Dr. Mark Hyman. Let me tell you about Anna. She's 65, retired teacher, eats clean walks every morning, and prides herself on staying naturally healthy. Her routine: a green smoothie with banana, orange, pineapple, a handful of grapes every morning for the past 3 years. But lately, she started noticing something odd. Her legs felt heavy, her knees were sore after short walks, and sometimes going up a flight of stairs felt like lifting weights. She thought it was aging. Her doctor said it was just wear and tear. But when we ran her labs, she was low on potassium, borderline pre-diabetic, and had early signs of muscle loss in the legs, all while eating healthy fruit every single day. That's when I started asking a question I never thought I'd have to ask. Could the fruit you think is helping you actually be stealing strength from your legs? And today we're going to answer that. Because not all fruits are equal, especially after 60. Some are hydrating, fiber-rich, supportive of circulation. But others, even ones labeled natural and clean, can spike your blood sugar, strip your minerals, and quietly weaken your lower body over time. And to unpack this with me is someone whose insight into aging is not only scientific, but lived. He's helped tens of thousands of older adults regain mobility, clarity, and strength through tradition, nutrition, and deep respect for the body's rhythm. He is a neurologist, an educator, a national treasure of Japan, and he's lived for more than a century with strength in both mind and movement. Dr. Shigeaki Hinohara, thank you again for being here.
Thank you, Mark. It's always a joy to speak with you. You know, in Japan we do eat fruit, but we treat it like medicine. Not like dessert, not like breakfast. Because for the aging body, too much fruit or fruit at the wrong time becomes more than sugar. It becomes imbalance. I've seen many elders eat clean yet lose their balance, and when I look closely, the culprit is often not lack of movement. It's a quiet flood of natural sugars and acids, especially when the legs are already struggling to stay firm.
That's what we're diving into today. Why some of the most healthy fruits can silently harm your legs after 60. What happens to your minerals, nerves, and muscles when you eat fruit at the wrong time. The top 7 fruits to watch out for and smarter ways to enjoy fruit without sacrificing strength. If you've been eating clean but feeling weaker, this episode is for you. Because even good foods, if misunderstood, can drain your vitality. So, let's break this myth wide open. Fruit is good for you until it isn't. Especially after 60, when your legs begin to depend more than ever on electrolyte balance, muscle preservation, and nerve responsiveness, what you eat. And when you eat, it becomes critical. Now, most people eat fruit with the best intentions. But here's what they don't realize. Certain fruits can spike blood sugar, strip minerals, and even interrupt muscle signaling, all of which directly impact the strength and stability of your legs.
That's something I've observed often. Many older adults feel that fruit is like natural and therefore always safe. But after 60, the body becomes more reactive to swings in blood sugar and shifts in potassium, magnesium, and sodium. When fruit is eaten in large amounts or on an empty stomach, it can create a chain reaction. Blood sugar rises fast, insulin spikes. Then you crash low. Energy, muscle fatigue, even temporary loss of coordination. I've seen patients who eat a bowl of grapes feel lightheaded 30 minutes later, and then wonder why they stumble on the stairs.
That's because the body's ability to manage these sugar waves changes with age. After 60, there's often a natural decline in insulin sensitivity, which means glucose from fruit doesn't get into muscle cells as efficiently. And if it doesn't reach your muscles, you're not feeding strength. You're draining it. Plus, when that sugar hits fast, especially from fruit juices, smoothies, or high fructose fruits, your kidneys respond by pulling out water and electrolytes to dilute it. That means you lose potassium, magnesium, even sodium minerals your legs desperately need to contract and stay stable.
Exactly. This is why we don't just look at what the person eats, but when and how much. Eating acidic or high fructose fruits first thing in the morning on an empty stomach creates stress for the gut, liver, and legs. The body hasn't yet stabilized, cortisol may still be high, and now it must manage a fast sugar load with no protein or fat to buffer it. The result, cramping weakness in the knees, shaky calves after a short walk, and even higher fall risk, not from strength loss but from nerve muscle misfiring.
I've seen this pattern too. Someone drinks a healthy smoothie with banana, pineapple, and orange juice, then goes for a walk. Halfway through, they start feeling lightheaded, wobbly, or need to sit down. It's not dehydration, it's the body crashing from a sugar surge it couldn't regulate properly. And this doesn't just drain energy, it leads to muscle breakdown over time, especially in the legs. Because if your insulin is too high, your body shuts off protein synthesis, the very process that maintains and builds muscle mass.
And that is what leads to sarcopenia, the loss of muscle that begins quietly but quickly accelerates when diet is unbalanced. Many people exercise. They walk, but if their cells are not supported nutritionally, the legs still weaken. You cannot build strong legs if your fuel sabotages the function.
That's the truth right there. So, let's be clear, fruit isn't bad, but context is everything. After 60, your body responds differently, and some fruits, even the ones marketed as healthy, may be quietly reducing your leg strength if eaten in the wrong form, in the wrong amount, or at the wrong time. And that's exactly what we'll dive into next. We're going to name the top 7 fruits that older adults should be cautious about, not because they're evil, but because they can weaken the legs if misunderstood. So if you've been doing everything right, eating fruit every day, but still feel like your legs are slowing down, this next part is for you. So now we know the why, let's talk about the what. Here are 7 fruits that many seniors eat regularly thinking they're making a smart health choice, but which can weaken the legs over time if consumed in the wrong way. We're not saying you should never eat these. We're saying know what they do and how they behave inside your body after 60. 1. Green or unripe bananas. While bananas are a great source of potassium, unripe bananas contain more resistant starch, which is harder to digest, and may block actual potassium absorption. Eating a green banana first thing in the morning can lead to bloating, cramping, and in some cases, lower leg fatigue, especially if eaten alone.
We recommend waiting until the banana has spots, a sign that starch has converted into softer sugars, which the gut can manage more gently.
2. Pineapple raw, and in large quantity. Pineapple is refreshing, but it's also high in bromelain, an enzyme that in large doses can irritate the stomach lining and interfere with nutrient absorption. And with its high acidity, it can lead to mineral flushing, especially potassium and magnesium, weakening muscle coordination and joint stability.
We advise no more than a few small pieces, and always, after a meal, never on an empty stomach.
3. Grapes. Grapes contain natural antioxidants, yes, but they also have a very high glycemic impact, especially for such a small fruit. A handful of grapes can spike blood sugar fast, then drop it, leading to muscle heaviness, knee soreness, or even mild tremors in the legs.
And in patients with borderline insulin resistance or mild neuropathy, this effect is more pronounced. We prefer blackberries or blueberries, lower sugar, higher fiber.
4. Watermelon. It's 90% water, great for hydration, right? But here's the catch. Watermelon is also loaded with natural sugar and zero protein or fiber. When eaten in large portions, especially on hot days, it can cause electrolyte dilution, meaning sodium and potassium drop, leaving you with wobbly legs and muscle fatigue.
In Japan, watermelon is eaten with a pinch of salt to preserve balance, a tradition rooted in biology, not just taste.
5. Dried fruits. Dates, raisins, figs. Dried fruits are sugar bombs. A small handful of raisins or dates may seem harmless, but they contain as much sugar as a candy bar and zero hydration, which makes them harder on the kidneys and joints. They can trigger blood sugar crashes, lead to joint swelling, and contribute to calf or thigh cramping during daily activity.
These should be treats, not snacks, and always consumed with tea yogurt or healthy fat to slow the sugar load.
6. Citrus fruits on an empty stomach. Oranges, tangerines. The acidity in citrus fruits can erode gut lining and disrupt calcium absorption when eaten alone, weakening muscle contractions and knee stability. It can also trigger acid reflux, which increases sympathetic stress, making it harder for the legs to relax and recover.
We recommend eating citrus after lunch in small amounts, not as a breakfast starter.
7. Multi-fruit smoothies. This one surprises people the most. Combining 3 or 4 fruits into a single smoothie, even without added sugar, can deliver 40-60 grams of sugar in minutes more than a soda. This overwhelms your body's regulatory systems, triggering inflammation, blood sugar crash, and even temporary nerve signal disruption to the legs.
Instead of fruit-heavy smoothies, try one with 1 to 2 banana, a handful of greens, a tablespoon of chia seeds, and water or unsweetened almond milk. Let fruit enhance the flavor, not dominate the system.
So, let's be clear. These fruits are not villains, but when you're over 60, they don't behave the same way inside your body. Your legs are no longer just bones and muscle. They are chemical systems needing precise balance. And if that balance gets disrupted by too much sugar, too much acid, or timing mistakes, you may feel it in your knees, your calves, or in how easily you climb the stairs.
Strong legs come from strong habits, not strong opinions about healthy foods. Let your fruit serve your strength, not drain it.
So after all that, you might be asking, should I stop eating fruit completely? And the answer is no. Fruit still offers fiber, antioxidants, hydration, and joy. But after 60, your body is more sensitive, your digestion is slower, your muscles need more support, and your brain responds differently to sugar. So it's not about cutting fruit. It's about eating fruit intentionally to protect your energy, your balance, and especially your legs.
That's very true. In Japan, we eat fruit, but we treat it almost like a side dish or garnish. A small slice of apple, 2 strawberries, a few cubes of melon after lunch. Never a giant bowl, never on its own. Because when fruit is eaten without context, it behaves like a sugar load. But when it's eaten with care, it becomes nourishment. Let me share 5 simple rules I've taught for decades. 1. Eat fruit after meals, not on an empty stomach. Many people think fruit is a perfect first food in the morning. But for older adults, that can trigger blood sugar spikes and acid imbalance, especially when cortisol is still high. Instead, eat fruit after breakfast or lunch. Even a few bites of protein or fat beforehand can stabilize your response.
Yes, pair fruit with structure. Half a banana with almond butter, berries with yogurt, apple slices after a protein-based lunch. The goal is to slow absorption, protect your insulin response, and give your muscles a chance to use the sugar, not store it. 2. Stick to 1 serving at a time. And know what that means. A serving of fruit is not a smoothie full of 4 ingredients. It's 1 small apple, 1 tomato 2 banana, 6 tabawa 8 grapes, 1 tabawa 2 cup of melon, 1 bawa 2 cup of berries. Anything more than that in one sitting increases the risk of leg heaviness, electrolyte loss, and poor muscle recovery, especially in hot weather or after walking.
We teach little, but often not more for health. The body over 60 needs balance, not abundance.
3. Choose low glycemic, high fiber fruits. First, if you're going to eat fruit daily, focus on blueberries, strawberries, kiwi, ripe papaya, small pears, red apples. These fruits are lower in sugar, higher in fiber, and contain plant compounds that support vascular health crucial for your legs.
We also recommend persimmons in moderation, rich in flavonoids that support circulation.
4. Always pair fruit. With a balancing partner, think protein or healthy fat. Why? Because when you combine fruit with a handful of nuts, a boiled egg, a spoon of yogurt, or even a slice of avocado, toast you slow glucose absorption. Support your joints and give your legs the minerals they need to stay firm.
Even a warm cup of mujika with fruit helps. It supports digestion and preserves hydration.
5. Avoid fruit before or after exercise. Surprising, right? But here's the logic. Before a workout, your insulin is sensitive. Eating sugary fruit can drop blood sugar mid-movement, leaving your legs weak. After exercise, your body needs protein and electrolytes, not sugar spikes. Fruit right after can delay recovery and cause cramping.
This is why we time fruit at mid-afternoon with rest when the body is most stable.
So, to recap, don't eat fruit alone, don't overdo portion sizes, choose wisely, time it right, pair it with support. Because when eaten properly, fruit fuels your brain and body. But when misunderstood, it quietly pulls from your legs, your nerves, your strength.
Food is never neutral after 60. Every bite is either building you up or slowly taking something away. Let your fruit serve your strength, not sabotage it.
So, let's bring this home. We've spent the last hour talking about something that most people would never expect to hear from two doctors, that some of the fruits you've always believed were healthy might actually be weakening your legs, draining your energy, and raising your risk of falls if eaten the wrong way. But this isn't a message of fear, it's a message of awareness, because once you understand how fruit works inside the aging body, you can make it work for you, not against you.
That's right. After 60, the body becomes more responsive and more vulnerable. The same banana that energized you at 30 might now leave your legs heavy if eaten alone on an empty stomach. The fruit smoothie you used to love after a workout, it might be spiking your blood sugar and draining potassium from your calves. But you don't need to stop eating fruit. You just need to change the rhythm. Eat less pear smartly, time it well, and your body will thank you.
And if you're listening right now and thinking, wait, I've been doing this for years, is it too late? Our answer is simple. It's never too late to feed your body differently. Your legs are still listening, your nerves are still adaptable, and real confident, stable strength is still possible.
In Japan, we say, the legs carry the soul. Protect them like treasure. If you feel unsteady lately, if you've lost confidence on stairs, start here. Don't start with harder workouts. Start by asking, what fruits am I eating? When am I eating them? And are they feeding my legs or confusing them?
So here's your action plan. Cut back on multi-fruit smoothies. Never eat fruit alone, first thing in the morning. Eat one serving at a time with fat or protein. Choose lower sugar fruits like berries, kiwi, or papaya. And notice how your legs feel 30, 60 minutes later, because your legs are talking to you. Every step is a signal. Every wobble is a whisper. And now you know how to listen. This is the Shigeaki Podcast, where aging meets intention and strength begins in the smallest choices. If this episode helped you subscribe to the podcast, share it with a loved one over 60, and leave us a review so more people can walk stronger, longer, and smarter. Until next time, eat wisely, walk steadily, and protect the legs that carry your life.